In this video, I'm going to show you 4 ways to get clients for your business that are consistent and work almost every single time. And this will work for you whether you're a B2B consultant, a service provider, a freelancer, a coach, anybody who works with business owners or decision makers. So let's get into them right now. Strategy number 1 is email marketing. So email marketing, there's kind of 2 ways to think about email marketing. There is like what we would say is nurture emails, like newsletter people, subscribers, people who want to get your emails, where you're kind of already have built a relationship. Maybe somebody said, hey, I want to join your newsletter and stay up to date on everything your business offers. And then your second type of email marketing is what we would call sales emails, or cold email marketing, as sometimes people use that naming convention. When we're talking about ways to get clients, I'm actually going to stay a little bit focused on sales emails. And the reason why is not because newsletter and like nurturing an audience isn't good, but if your goal is to generate more sales meetings and sales opportunities and get more clients, I want to stay focused on the things that are sales driven, right? Nurturing an email list is great, but that's more of a long-term strategy. And typically people watching this video are not interested in something that's going to work in a year or two. Especially if you're a brand new business, you probably need clients yesterday. So I want to go over the strategies that are going to be kind of the shortest A to B success. So when we talk about email marketing as a cold email, we're talking about sending cold emails to prospective customers, right? So one of the big tools or one of the big things to think about is you're going to have a decent amount of volume when sending cold emails. I know it sucks, but if somebody's never heard of you before and you're sending them an email, your response rates, even if you're doing a very good job, are still not going to be 100%, right? I think some of the big mistakes people get into is when they start doing emailing or cold emailing is they send 10 emails today and they're like, oh my God, nobody responded. My business is going to fail. I give up. You know what? I'm going to start a drop shipping store instead or whatever it is, right? And that's not maybe the most helpful way to think about it. So when we think about email marketing, we got to think about what are the numbers or the metrics we want to aim for? So I want to give you some baselines that we've seen pretty consistent so that you can know if what you're doing is working or not. Okay. So the first thing you want to think about is like, how many meetings and like new clients do you want? Do you just want 1 client? Do you want 5 clients? Do you want 10 clients? Because that's going to affect how much volume and how much you need to invest in tools to make email marketing work for you. So if like, let's say your goal is, I just want to get 2 clients a month, right? I think that's a great place to start. Then you can back into what the numbers are that you need to send cold emails and it convert predictably. So if you're sending out, let's say 1,000 emails a month to business owners, you probably want at least 20% of them opened. That's kind of the bare minimum in cold email. I think you can get higher, but I think 20% is pretty reasonable to expect of yourself. And if you're not doing that, there's some serious opportunity areas. Okay. So you probably want 20% of 1,000 people to open your email. So that means 200 of those people, right? So you have 200 people who have opened your email. And of those 200 people, you want probably 5% of them to respond to you and be interested. Okay. So if that's 200 people, that should be about 10 people who reply to you interested. And let's say half of them actually get booked on calls. That would be 50%, book a call. And so now you have 5 calls you've booked. Okay. Statistically, if you're selling something that's like relatively inexpensive, so anything under $30,000, you should get 1 in those 5 people to likely buy your services. If you're not as great at sales or you're new, it might take a little bit more. But that kind of gives you a good basis on the numbers that you need to set up in order to hit your goals. So I would say, a 20% open rate, a 5% reply rate, 50% booking rate, 20% close rate. Now, if you know some of these numbers, you can play around with them, but that's going to help you back into how many emails you need. Okay. So that's the first thing. You have to kind of set the goal and determine what numbers you need. Okay. The second thing you're going to do is you need to source the list or build a database or prospect, some people call it, or hunting, which I don't like, both in practice and the term for this. So maybe we'll call it something along the lines of like, building that audience. Okay. And when you're building the audience, there's a couple ways you can go about doing this. One is you could buy a data list. I don't like that. advice. And I don't like it for a lot of reasons. Ethically, it's a little cringe. You know, a lot of people will go to like Fiverr and hire people to like basically scrape. But secondarily, you often get shitty leads from, you know, somebody who paid $10 to find it, you know, who's maybe, you know, in a different country and is just scraping. I have a client who had a list from somebody they hired overseas, who was doing this as a part-time job, and they had McDonald's employees on the list, legitimately, and they were supposed to be going after owners of trucking companies. So that can show you how wildly off it can get. So where I would tell you to get a list is one of three places. And we'll go like the S tier if you have lots of money, the mid tier if you have medium money, and the cheapest one if you have almost no resources. All right. So number one option is like a professional data company. A company like Zoom Info is one that I think of, or Uplead or something along those lines. Those companies are professional data companies, and they have verified consent-based like email lists, phone numbers, names, LinkedIn and social profiles, intent activity, all that stuff. So that's like kind of your S tier option. But that is like kind of a $20K investment usually just to get rolling. So it's not typically what I would advise for people, but different people starting looks different for different people. So if you have all the resources in the world, go off. Or if you're somebody who already bought it, congrats, you can use that and you don't have to go buy another tool. Okay. The second option that I like is a tool like Apollo. Another dupe for this would be like Seamless, but not the food app, the data company. There's two, so watch out. But yeah, like Apollo is the one I typically go for, and that's kind of the mid level, and that's usually where I'll end up advising, and probably where you'll end up, just because it's all in one place and it's easier to use. And so the benefit to Apollo is it starts relatively inexpensive at like $100 to a couple hundred a month. But if you need lots of leads, you're going to quickly go over that 100 a month and probably get to the, couple hundred to, you'll probably end up spending like $5,000 a year on it, which isn't so bad, especially if it's getting you clients consistently, right? So that's kind of like the mid option. And then the bottom cheapest option, but that's a little bit more work, is just using LinkedIn. Typically you'll need something like LinkedIn Sales Nav, or you can just use LinkedIn, search a type of offer or vertical. Like let's say you work with dentists, you could search a bunch of dentists on LinkedIn, and you can use tools. There's like a tool called Phantom Buster. There's a lot of other tools that will effectively data scrape. The challenge to that is you're going to get a mix of results. It's ethically gray, and it's a lot more work. So typically I will tell people to either use Sales Nav, which is consent-based, or on LinkedIn, or Apollo. So those kind of the first things when it comes to email marketing is like, you got to build the audience. Okay. Second thing you want to do, and I'm going to make this a whole step because people forget, is you have to verify and clean your email list, your audience. A lot of people skip this step. Big mistake. Huge. Okay. Just Google email database list cleaner. Yeah. Never Bounce is a good one, or Zero Bounce. So you could use either one of those. But even if the place you got the email list from says these are clean, don't believe them and still run it through there. It's going to cost you all of like $2 to run it through one of those things. And what that's going to do is get rid of old emails, maybe people who have left the company, maybe emails that'll bounce, maybe people who shut down that business, right? And it's going to clean up the list. Why does that matter? Because it's going to improve the deliverability. And if you're sending lots of cold emails to potential prospects, prospects is a hard word, is what I've learned today. You could potentially set off like spam filters on any of the email service providers, Outlook, Gmail, any of the other ones. So you want to make sure you're emailing a list and that the deliverability is high, so that you don't end up sending all your emails to spam and then nobody gets your emails. Okay. So that's a second whole step for email marketing. Okay. The third thing you need to do is you need to write the copy for the emails. Okay. I have a video on how to structure, it may be a short, I'll link it somewhere here, on how to structure a very easy cold email to go out. But to give you the high levels, you need an attention grabbing subject line. Don't make it long. Shorter is better. use the first name of the person or the name of the company if you can. So a simple example could be, hey, Timmy, right? That could be the subject line, or trying to connect to Timmy, or Timmy times, AJ, right? And they're like, oh, let's collaborate, right? Let's collab, Timmy is another good subject. Feel free to take any of those. That's free. That's for you. Okay. After you write the subject line for the email, then you need to get into the body. So the first thing you want to do is I would do a very quick intro. And this is contested. Some people are like, just don't do that. I've found it's a little bit better, but a lot of what we do, we kind of bolt onto other strategies. So do with this information what you will. But you would go like, hey, my name is AJ. I run Blink Media Co. Right? That's our company. That's the YouTube channel. That's where you're watching this. Okay, so you know that. All right. We help B2B consultants get 1 to 5 clients every single month without running ads or spending all day sending manual DMs. Okay, so you're introing who you are. You're entering a value prop is the next thing. If you have a case study, you can do a case study. So one would be like, I recently helped my client C go from 0 to 500,000 in new business revenue in just 12 months, and would love to see if we could do the same for you. Okay, so you have a case study of results in there, and then you go, is this something you're interested in, or is this worth a quick conversation? So that's your call to action. And the call to action, I would typically advise asking the question. A lot of people will instead try to send a calendar link and hope people just book onto their calendar. And if that's already working for you, do that, I guess. But most of the time what I've seen is it drastically makes it harder for people to set up time with you. When you send them a link to a calendar, they have to click it, they have to find time, they have to enter their information. You're making it very hard. So typically what I would advise is make it as easy as humanly possible. Remove the friction. And in this instance, it's by asking a yes or no question, right? Like those notes when you were kids and you were had a crush. Yes, no, maybe. Do you want to chat? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. And then you just sign off. Signed, AJ, owner, Blink. And you could always in your signature include a link to schedule time as well. And people will do that sometimes. And then you can always add a PS if you'd like. So that would be a very basic cold email structure. And then you would likely want to add some follow-ups, at least 1 to maybe 3 follow-up emails where it's just circling back. Okay, so you need to write that copy. There's the structure. If you want a doc of our internal template on how we build cold email campaigns, comment below template and I'll send it to you. Okay, cool. So that's that. So now you have the list. You've cleaned the list. You have wrote the copy. What's the last thing you do? You got to send the emails, right? So you have a couple of options for this. The first option is you can manually write and copy paste these emails and send it manually to however many people a day. I would typically say your max number to be safe should be around 50 emails a day, right? If we're sticking with our 1,000 number, that'll be a month's worth of emails, okay? Because you're doing Monday through Friday. Or if you don't want to spend hours sending this and you'd rather spend a little bit of money, I would invest using a cold emailing tool to send these out. There's a couple that I use and I've used successfully and we have clients that use. None of them are wrong or right. It's really a preference thing. So what is a cold emailing tool and why do you need it? A cold emailing tool effectively sends these cold emails for you with snippets on your behalf, and they'll typically send them throughout the day so as to model human behavior, as opposed to, and something important to think about when you're using cold emailing tools, there's a difference between cold emailing tools and the email tools that you use for newsletters. Okay. Newsletters are for people who want to be in your world and they send a blast all at once. Cold email tools send them throughout the day and don't send as many. They have a cap because they know that their intentionality is to send emails, right? And sales emails. So tools you don't want to use for this, for sales emails, are MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, the Entreport, right? Those are all things that are great for newsletters, and they're amazing tools. I love all of those tools, but those are for a different use case. If you're using your email for sales, you want to use things like Woodpecker is a tool I really like. We have one that we use internally called Rebel Leads. That one works really well. And Instantly AI. I would say those are the three that I trust the most and that they all work. Okay, so those are kind of the three tools I would advise for cold emailing. And I would set your threshold at sending no more than 50 emails a day, 5 days a week. And then your last step is to launch. Okay, you go live, you launch it, you go for the full month, including the follow-ups and everything, and then you assess your numbers, right? So I guess step 6 is win and or optimize, right? So step 6 is, oh, it worked and I'm closing deals. Congrats, you did it. I believed in you the whole time. It was actually my idea. You're welcome. Or it is, oh shit, this didn't work, in which case it's not my fault, it's your fault. But now I sound like a coach. Okay, no, but for real, if you send these emails and they don't work, you look at the numbers based on the numbers I just gave at the top of this video, and you say, where do I need to improve it, right? If the open rate is low, the subject line needs to be improved. If the reply rate is low, then the call to action isn't compelling, right? If the interest rate is low, then the offer isn't that great. If the close rate is low, then your sales process needs support. So that's it. You have the tools to do email marketing. Go do it, or don't, and maybe do one of these other two strategies I'm about to talk about. Okay, so that's how you build an email marketing strategy. All right. Strategy number 2, LinkedIn outreach. I'm biased because this is like 90% of what my biz dev company does, but LinkedIn outreach is a really great tool. The good news about LinkedIn outreach is it's similar to cold email in that like the structure of how you're building the campaigns is the same. You still need to build an audience, you still need to write some copy, you still need to launch, and then you need to adjust and optimize. The other benefit is that it's a lot less steps. You don't need an email marketing tool. You don't need to go, get a third-party email list. You don't need to clean a list. It's as simple as it sounds. So when you're creating a LinkedIn outreach campaign, we're thinking about direct messages and outreach on LinkedIn. Okay. So let's spell out these steps. Some of them are going to feel redundant because they align with email marketing, but let's still just cover them quickly just so you're clear. Okay. So step 1, build the audience. Actually, step 0, let's go backwards. Step 0, optimize your LinkedIn profile. If you don't know how to do it, I have a video on how to do it. Go watch that. Your LinkedIn profile should make it really easy for people to want to do business with you. That's like the first thing. So optimize your LinkedIn profile is first. Okay. Then the actual first step is you're going to define who your audience is and build that audience. So if you're, let's say, a freelancer who works with coaches and does video editing for them, maybe your audience is coaches or people in training or, solopreneurs, small firms, people with less than 10 employees, right? So you're going to define that audience and you're going to build the audience. Now, if you're like, AJ, I don't know how to build the audience. Can you explain better? Yes, I made a video on how to build a Sales Navigator LinkedIn outreach list. You can go watch that if this is the strategy you're committed to, okay? But the first one is you build the audience, okay? The second thing is you're going to write your copy. Now, the copy here is going to be a little bit different in both expected metrics and in steps as compared to email. Reason why is because LinkedIn is a social media platform. It's a different thing, okay? But when you're writing your copy and you want to think about a 2 to 4 step campaign, okay? And you want to think about your metrics. So let's go into the metrics because that's, I think, more important first. So for metrics, you're adding one different step in here that didn't exist before. When you're doing LinkedIn outreach, one of the first things you have to do on your LinkedIn campaign is you have to send a LinkedIn connection request. Connection request is the same as like an Instagram follower or Facebook friend, right? It's effectively saying like, look, I'm consenting to be in your world. And I think that's super important. The benefit to this is it's easier to humanize you than it is via email. So your step 1 when it comes to building any LinkedIn outreach campaign is sending a connection request. And the metric that you care about is you should have at least I would say a 20% acceptance rate. You can make 10% work, but 20% I think you should be able to do that. Okay. So once you get a 20% acceptance rate, meaning if you send an invite to 10 people, 2 of them say, yes, I'll connect with you. That's great. The next metric you care about is how many people reply to your outbound message. Okay. You want 30% of the people who you send a message to after they connect to reply. Just reply. Okay. After that, of the 30% of the people who reply, you want at least 1 in 4 interested in what you're selling. Okay. And then you should have the same book and close rate. You should have a pretty high book rate, pretty high close rate. Okay. I would say 20% close rate. Okay. So those are the numbers we're aiming for. When you're creating your copy for this campaign, step 1 is sending the connection request. A lot of people like to put blurbs in their LinkedIn connection requests. You can do that if you want. If you make each one super hyper personalized, maybe you'll have a higher open rate. But the data we've seen, and we've run it on like 80 accounts, is an empty blank connection request has the highest success rate. My hypothesis as to why that's happening is that it doesn't seem like a bot is reaching out to them and people don't want to talk to bots. So that's my guess. Feel free to test it, especially if you're going to do it manually versus using tools like writing it out personal. But I really think the automation and the leaving it blank keeps things simpler. Okay. Once they connect, then we send a rapport building message. Rapport building message is something along the lines of like, hey, thanks for connecting. Could even be like, hey, how's things over there in wherever you live? I live in Chicago. How's things over there in Chicago? Right? Or, hey, how long you've been at Acme Inc. Okay. But just nothing where you're selling. Okay. Then the third step. So you have connection, rapport. Then you're going to go into like a probing question or an offer. And you want to do this a couple days later, not immediately. The reason why is because if you hit somebody immediately after they connect with you, they're going to be off-put. There's actually even like a slang term for it in the space called pitch slapping. Actually, I have a colleague who is writing, his next book is called Pitch Slap because he talks about things like sales and things like this. So yeah, I would wait at least a couple days, and then you could either send a direct offer if you're more, of a direct kind of guy or gal, where you're just like, hey, my name is Timmy. I run a video editing company. I recently helped my client AJ increase his impressions by 310% in 6 months. Wondering if you're interested if I could do the same for you. Is it worth a conversation? So that's like the more direct path. A slightly less direct could be, hey, have you thought about doing video marketing for your business? Right? And this is like a hand raising type question. If they say no, well, then they've disqualified themselves. If they say yes, well, you're like, oh, well, that's like what we do. You want to talk about it? Right? And that's it. Those are kind of like the 2 styles of message I typically like. You could do where you send some sales collateral, like, hey, I put together a guide or I have a webinar. That's just more work. And I think if you're watching this video, you're looking for things that are simple. So I would say one of those 2. The crazy ends of the spectrum that I hate are people are like, hey, do you want to get coffee? I hate that. And I think you should too. When you do this like bullshit trying to be fake friends with people, it feels so disingenuous, and people know you don't actually want to get coffee, right? People know they're not like, you don't want to partner. You want to sell me something, and that's fine. Is it helpful, right? So I think that's disingenuous, and really the only people advocating for like making fake friends on LinkedIn are people who sell courses on how to make fake friends on LinkedIn. Like, just candidly, I haven't seen a lot of people who actually sell tangible, like actually valuable stuff who are like, let's be like, oh, just have, conversations every day and make friends with people. Like I've mostly just seen it be people who sell like $5,000 to $10,000 courses where they kind of leave a trail of bodies where they go. Is that judgmental? Yes. Am I judging you? 100% if you do that. Yeah. I don't like it. Okay. So that's one end. The other end of the spectrum, which is maybe equally cringe, but I don't have as much of a problem with it, weirdly, is making these crazy overhyped claims, right? So like, how would you like to, go viral and get 1 million views on your LinkedIn in the next 24 hours, guaranteed, or your money back, and I'll send you my dog, the one that is healthy, not the sick one, right? That's like a crazy claim. And I know it became very like in fashion because a lot of books advocated for it in the past couple of years. And if you're starting business, I don't necessarily disparage that strategy. Like if you don't have case studies or experience and you're just like young and you're trying to figure it out, like fine, say like, look, if it doesn't work, I'll work for free. I think that's okay. I do think you do end up getting the more skeptical, more likely to ask for refunds, more likely to like, shit talk you, desperate clients when you do that. But it's, when you're starting, you kind of take what you can to get experience. So I understand that strategy. But I really think the middle is the better place to hang out. But that's a me thing. So that's your next message when you're creating the copy. So you're going to go connection request, rapport message, probing question / offer. And then the last thing you're going to do is maybe a bump, like a follow-up, just like if they haven't responded. And I would do that typically 2-3 days after that probing message went out. It's just like, hey, just making sure you got this. You could also send a video like that introduces yourself. We have technology that does that, so that's why we advise it. You may or may not be in a position to do that. So you can also just say, hey, I'm just making sure you got my above message, right? And then if they don't respond to that, up to a week later, I would do like a last final message. And this, you could skip the bump and just go straight to this, but this would be your last one. And it would be a takeaway message or like a last chance message. Like, hey, clearly, this isn't it for you right now. You're super busy or this isn't high priority. My above offer stands. Let me know if you're interested in the future, but I'm going to stop DMing you. All the best. And maybe link to your website. That would be like the last message I send. And the reason you do that is because you don't want to piss people off, because people may hit you up 6 months later, a year later, and want to hire you. So I would typically leave it there. Okay. So now you have the sequence for crafting the copy for the campaign. Your next step is, of course, you launch, similar to email marketing, right? And then you assess. And you should either win, which is great, and congratulations, you did it, or you optimize and assess and you look at which part of the funnel needs to improve, okay? So that's the LinkedIn outreach strategy method. All right, third strategy is a little simpler. We're gonna say it's video marketing. Video marketing is just consistently putting yourself in front of your ideal customers. So this is very simple. The challenge with this is like for somebody who has lots of time and not that much money is what I would typically say. Because you can do it. It's going to get you results, but it's going to take a minute. And it typically is more powerful when paired with either email marketing or LinkedIn outreach as a strategy. Like you need some form of what we would say is outbound. You could even be doing what we went over LinkedIn because that's where I like to hang out. There are people who like to do LinkedIn and DM. Okay, so Instagram and Facebook DM outreach, and that can work just depending on what you're offering, especially if you're selling things like life coaching or fitness coaching or like how to be a vegan or like whatever, right? Like things along spiritual coaching, that can work. But you typically need some form of like an outreach to bolt video marketing onto. Video marketing by itself can work for people, especially if video is your strength, you already have a little bit of a following on social, but otherwise it can be a long lot of work for not that much of a return without those other mechanisms. So when it comes to video marketing, what I've seen work pretty well is any form of consistent value-driven marketing that solves challenges that your ideal clients have. That's at least what I've been doing, and it has seemed to be working for me. I'm not this big influencer, but we do get customers from video marketing. So that should tell you don't need a lot of followers to get customers from video marketing. So what I would say to you is step one, identify your pillar content. Now, this is what is the stuff you're going to talk about that pertains to your customer. Ideally, it's fixing problems that they have. Like this video, for instance, is how to get leads consistently. Well, our service offerings offer how to get leads consistently for our business. So there are some people who will want to learn by themselves. Maybe they'll get some results and then maybe they'll hire us. There are other people who are like, I don't want to do it myself. How do I just hire you? Right? Same thing for you. If you're a video editing company, let's go with that as an example. Some pillar content ideas for you may be along the lines of like how to create all your content in 1 hour, even if you have no time, right? Best editing tools for people starting to edit their own videos. These 3 video frameworks really helped my business, my restaurant client, increase their sales, right? Things that are ideally in buckets that are problems your clients have. So if your video editor might be, no exposure, they need clients, they need more, customers, more leads, they need better branding, right? Those might be some of the outcomes. And so those are the buckets. What tools? They don't know what tools to do. They don't know how to edit, right? All those things may be potential things that can be supportive buckets of content ideas. Okay. And that's the first thing is like define what your pillar content is and start making content around it. Actually, I think I have mine written here. Yeah. Our pillar content ideas are like finding leads, lead gen automation. They don't want to like do manual things. They don't have a strategy or they're tired of referrals. Like those are our main pain points and pillar things that we focus on here. So those are the problems we try to help our viewers with. And those are the things you need to define for yourself. Okay. So once you've defined those challenges, you want to secondarily brain dump a bunch of video ideas. And some of them are going to be bad. Most of them actually. And then if you don't have ideas, just give those pillar content ideas to like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, any AI tool, just to get the juices rolling and then brain dump all of them and see which ones feel the most aligned for you. What kind of videos can you make? Do you imagine? Right? So that's the next thing I would do when it comes to making the videos. Okay. Then once you've ideated on some video ideas, then you want to commit to a video schedule. I think kind of the best way is to do like one like more helpful piece of video per week. But if you're somebody who like loves TikTok or IG or whatever, like you could do vlog style videos if that feels more in your wheelhouse. You could do shorts if that's more in your wheelhouse. Like any of those things are fine. I just pick one like style and just commit to it. That's the main thing, is just committing to doing that. Number 4, kind of a bonus, is use tools to see what different headlines would rank the best. The only ones I can think of in terms of tools that work really well for us are tools for YouTube. We use a tool called TubeBuddy just to research headlines to see, it's effectively like SEO, like search engine optimization, but just on YouTube, so that what, search titles get the highest click, right? Versus ones that don't get a lot of clicks or ones that have super high competition. So we use that to kind of inform our decision making when it comes to specifically just titling the videos, but maybe even choosing what videos we film. Okay. And then the 5th thing is like you put it out there, be consistent. This is a little bit of a longer roadmap. And like I said, you should have some form of outreach already bolted onto your strategy if you're going to do this. And so I would measure the numbers without video versus the numbers with video, and you'll likely see those things improve. But yeah, that's what I would say is like analyze it and optimize. When it comes to the video marketing part, your main outcome is to deliver value, but you need another conversion mechanism to generate sales meetings. So video marketing is consistent, but it's like a supercharger on a car. I don't know about cars, but I presume it's like a supercharger or like the mushroom in Mario Kart that makes you go faster. Okay. But it's not the wheels, right? You need the wheels on your car first. Okay. You need the engine. Okay. So that was the 3rd one. And then the 4th and final strategy that's going to get you consistent leads and customers is paid media. Paid media or ads, right? Some people like to say ads and funnels, some form of advertising. Now, this might seem out of reach to you if you're like, well, I'm a starting business. I can't afford advertising. And I would say to that, if you had said that 15, 20 years ago, you're correct. But you're saying it today in 2025, so you're incorrect. Paid media is accessible to all sizes of business now because of social media. You can spend money on Facebook, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads, pretty effectively and drive results. In a world where, a billboard could cost you 10 grand for 1 month and may or may not work, you could spend a tenth of that on Facebook ads and get a customer from it, which is crazy. And more importantly, you could build not just customers, but you can also get leads. You can build those newsletters, right? You can build those audiences. You can get more people watching your videos on YouTube. So there's secondary and tertiary benefits of it, of running paid media. So when it comes to building a paid media campaign, I think if you're starting out, there's really just a few things to think about. Is one, do you have the resources? If you're going to start, what's your budget? Budget, imagination, budget. Budget is I would say if you're going to do paid ads, just to start testing, you should budget probably $1,500 a month. And if you're like, AJ, that sounds like way too much, then do one of the other 3 strategies I just gave you. I'm not trying to be mean. In the world of business, again, I've seen people who charge $500 to $1,000 a month to send mailers that don't work. So in the world of paid media, that feels like a bargain to potentially get you a customer. If you get one customer and your services are $2,000 a month, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. It seems silly, but I have to put that disclaimer out there that yes, paid media is paid. It costs money. Okay. So determine your budget. I would say 1,500 is your bare minimum. Okay. 2 is determine your platform. Where are your clients? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok? Because you're not going to put $1,500 on all 3 of those platforms. Typically, most people, we recommend putting them on Meta because then you get Facebook and Instagram. And most age groups are at least on there, at least a little bit. But if your audience skews much younger, you may not want to do that. You may want to do YouTube or TikTok or something like that. Okay. Pick the platform is next. Third is you want to choose the strategy. There's a couple different ones. I would say the bare minimum is putting an offer out there of what you do. So if we're sticking with the video editing company, you might say, hey, do you never have time for running, creating video content for your business? If so, book a free discovery call to see if our team can help you. I know it sounds crazy simple, and it is, but that by itself could get you, if you ran it as a messenger campaign, messages. It could also get you bookings on your calendar of people interested in your service offering. When I used to own gyms, we would say, hey, do you want to come in for a free personal training session to see if our gym would be a good fit for you? And we would get $1 to $5 meetings with people who came in, and 1 out of 5 of them would sign up for our gyms. So that's a pretty good system, right? And it's not that many steps. So that you want to kind of determine the strategy. Then step 4, you have to build a funnel. Now your funnel could all live on Facebook or Meta, but it could be on landing pages, right? So at a minimum, you'll typically need a landing page, and then a booking page, and then a thank you page. You may need to put more materials in there if there's a sales letter or a training or something like that. But that's the bare minimum. Okay. So you need to build the funnel. Best tools for building funnels. I like ClickFunnels, Go High Level, Lead Pages. Those are all really great. Okay. Or whatever option you like, that's fine. Cool. So you build the funnels. After you build the funnels, you write the copy for the funnels and the ads, and you launch. Okay. And so the last thing you do is you launch the ads. When you're launching ads, that's a longer conversation on how to do that. So if you're super interested in how to do ad campaigns, let me know and I'll do a longer video on it. But I know this video's already gone much longer than I initially intended. So that's just a pretty good strategy when it comes to building out paid media campaigns. Paid media campaign metrics that you want to aim for, typically a cost per lead, $10. I would say as high as 20 if you're in B2B. Okay. A cost per booking under $200, and a cost per deal one of $1,000 at most. Meaning if you spend $1,000 on paid ads, you should probably close a customer from that. There are also very little micro numbers that we need to obviously address. Cost per click, cost per impression, a click-through rate, things like that, that really affect landing page opt-in rate. There's a lot of little metrics when it comes to paid media that again, should be its entire, like its whole video, a whole video completely. If you're interested in that, please tell me, and I will make a separate video where we just go into how to build a paid media campaign. But the important thing is, which of these 4 mechanisms that we talked about today is the best for where you're at right now? Okay. Is it email marketing? Is it LinkedIn outreach? Is it video marketing? Or is it paid media? Just making that decision and committing to it for the next 90 days is going to drastically improve your customer acquisition and your lead getting ability, and get you very consistent, predictable results in the business. So your action steps pressing forward are to pick one of those, focus for the next 90 days, go hammer, hit those outcomes. And then when it works, come back here and comment on the video. Oh my God, AJ, it worked. He's a genius. And if it didn't work, it's your fault. Okay. Oh, and don't forget your most important action step. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like it for sure. If you like it, you'll probably get more clients. I'm just saying. That's just what I've seen happen. I don't know if that's true. I've just seen it happen. And yeah, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.